All right, we are super excited today. We are talking the Pure 21 Wellness Challenge with Caitlin Rebe, and she's out of San Francisco. She's done the challenge a couple times. Caitlin, will you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Yes. So I live in San Francisco. I'm 37 years old, married, no kids, just a cute little puppy. I'm also a personal trainer. And so I do group fitness, one-on-one trainings. I focus on kind of nutrition, obviously the sexual health piece as well, and kind of providing clients with a full body service so that they can be the best version of themselves.
Okay, I'm interested that you're a personal trainer. And so when you probably have lots of stuff come across your desk like this.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me what your initial thoughts were about the Wellness Challenge when it was first introduced to you, and then kind of what you thought after you started to do some research.
So when it first launched, I was definitely probably one of the louder naysayers of the program. I really felt like Pure Romance needed to stay in its own lane. And why were we doing supplements and vitamins? There's so many products on the market. And I think a lot of companies start a product that they really have no idea what they're doing. And it's just one new source of revenue, and they don't have any doctors behind it. There's no research behind it. They kind of just throw it out there and see if it sticks. And so when it first launched, I actually didn't talk about it. I didn't promote it at all. I kind of refused because I didn't feel like this was where Pure Romance should focus their efforts.
Yeah.
And I also had great programs that I had my clients on. And so I didn't think that this was something that I needed. And I kind of was watching other consultants go through their journeys, like Monique and Nikki. And I know these women personally, and I
Yeah.
know some of the struggles that they've had. But I was seeing the changes. And so for me, what really kind of made me change my mind and want to try it and promote it was that I'm like, first off, I'm not going to sell something that I am not familiar with and that I haven't tried. And it was a big ticket item. So I'm like, I need to get this into my party because number one, it makes a lot of money. But number two, I saw how much of a change it made for these women in their lifestyles. And I wanted that for my clients and for my friends. And so I started doing the research, listened to all of the stuff with dietitians and
Mm-hmm.
did my own research into some of the products. I compared all of the vitamins and supplements with the stuff that I had my current clients on, and they were a much higher quality. So I kind of did my own independent research. I listened to as much as Pure Romance put out. And
Yeah.
then I said, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot because why not? If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I might as well try it.
Okay, so tell us about the first time. When did you do it first, and what were your thoughts like a week in, 2 weeks in, and then when you were finished?
So I'm definitely somebody where this whole gut health thing, I kind of thought was just the next fad, just like keto and paleo. Yeah. And
Yeah,
all of these things
I
where
hear
you're
you.
like, okay, this is just the new big thing. And so when the whole gut health kind of idea came around, I was like, I'm not even going to jump on this train because I don't need this for my clients. It's all about, consistency and small changes. But personally, like my personal fitness journey, I've obviously been in fitness and nutrition for a long time. And I never felt like I could get to where I wanted to be or where I knew I could be based on the work that I was putting in. I was working out, almost every single day. I was eating pretty well. When you compare me to the average American, I was probably eating way cleaner than most people. But I never focused specifically on gut health. And I never looked at like, what is that doing for my body? So for me, this was really focusing on the gut health biome and what can we do to feel better. So going into this, I was like, I'm also somebody who I'm like, I'm going 110%. I'm not
Yeah,
going to half-ass this. Like if I'm doing this, I'm
right,
not cheating
right.
because I'm putting in the effort and I want the results. So it for me was a challenge. Like this was not something that was easy. And I think my husband did not do it with me. And he actually has not done it any of the three times, but he's the cook. So he kind of did it in the way that he was the one that was cooking for me.
Right.
And then he's eating it, which was great. So he ended up losing weight along the way every single time we did it, but he wasn't taking the vitamins, wasn't taking the supplements. And so for me, going through it, my biggest kind of vices are like dessert at night and then munchies. Like I'll sit down after my, 12-hour day of training and I'll
Right.
watch some TV and I just want to munch on some things. So that was probably the hardest for me was like my late night, chocolate or
Yeah.
popcorn, because I like that to kind of wind down. And so going into it, I was really worried about replacing those things. But I found that once I focused on, other things that I could swap out, I felt much better. And I didn't even know that I had inflammation and bloating. Like, I'm a skinny person.
Right.
And so I never, I just, it was status quo. It was like, oh, this is just the way my body is. And I think so many times we settle for what we think is normal for our
Hmm.
bodies, and it's not actually the normal. You
When
just get
did
used to
you
the
start to
gas.
see like a bloating change? I mean, and did you feel it as well?
I felt it, but I saw it more than anything else. I've always been very consistent with my bowel movements. Like, I eat pretty well, I'm moving a lot. So that was not anything new. But my clothes, it was like I needed a whole new wardrobe. And it was in the waist area. And the pictures were like night and day from my beginning to my ending. And nothing fit. My underwear didn't fit, my bras didn't fit,
Wow.
my
Yeah.
jeans. So that was pretty cool.
Okay, so what is your advice for someone that is interested in the challenge, but maybe they're scared that A, they won't stick to it, or B, it's going to be too expensive?
So if you're worried that you won't stick to it, I just want you to remind yourself that it's only 21 days. Like, you literally can do anything for 21 days. That's not that long. In the grand scheme of things, it's a blip on your lifetime. And if it changes your life, it's worth investing that 21 days. And 21 days forms a habit. So if you do truly want to change your life, you've got to invest that 21 days. So it's kind of, you just have to say, I'm going to suck it up. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be fun. I'm going to have to make sacrifices. I'm not going to go out with my friends during this 21 days, but it's also investing into a healthier lifestyle. And the cost, when I charge my clients to do this, I'm charging $600. So, and that doesn't include supplements. That's just me telling them what to eat and giving them recipes and some guidance. So the fact that this is only $299 with this incredible book that walks you through the program, it
Yeah.
gives you recipes, and you get all the vitamins and supplements, like, that's a massive savings from if you were to do it like just with a trainer and then you were going to get everything through
Did
them.
you
So for
feel
me, the
like,
cost, go ahead.
no, sorry, did you feel like it was easy to follow?
I did. I think if you commit to it and you stay within that recipe book,
Yeah.
I think it's easy to follow. I think where
I like
people,
having the book.
yes, I think where people go off is they start to look on Google for recipes. And then it's just like, oh, there's sugar in that, or oh, there's
Right.
grains, and they kind of come off of the wagon. But if you stay in the book, you're going to do pretty good. And you swap out the little things, instead of the pasta, you do the zucchini noodles or kohlrabi or hearts of palm. Like, there's so many things you can swap out into your normal.
Yeah. Okay, so how did you, I mean, you've always been very healthy. That is your field that you have chosen. So how did you keep it going? So you did the challenge, and then how did you kind of keep the Pure 21 wellness lifestyle moving?
So I will say I didn't the
Okay.
first time, but so I've done it 3 times.
Okay.
And for me, it was kind of an experiment of like, well, what if I do it and then I don't do it? And what if I do it and I continue? So I wanted to really play around with like, what does it do to my body in all of these different
Mm-hmm.
situations? So I did it the first time and then I completely stopped. I didn't focus on it at all. And it was night and day. Put the weight right back on. The bloating came back, the inflammation came back, and I was like, oh, okay, this actually is something. This whole gut health thing, like, this is a real thing. And so I waited my 10 weeks, and it's not like I was eating crazy. I
Right.
just wasn't focused on gut health. So then I did it again, and of course, right after I finished that, went to Mexico for one of the Pure Romance trips. That was a challenge, but I don't drink anyway, so that was not something that I had to really worry about. But I was able to kind of maintain, obviously, certain places have really fresh food. So I just stayed with the lighter foods, the fruits and the veggies. Um, and then between 2 and 3, tries 2 and 3, and now at this point, I kind of stick to an 80-20 rule. And so that can look like a lot of different things for people. So for some people, that's during the weekday, you eat 100% according to your plan. And then on weekends is when you allow yourself to kind of splurge and
Yeah.
eat off of the plan. That's probably what I would say I do most, because we like to go out to eat. We live in a city with so much great food. And so if I just said I can't have it, I would be miserable. So I would say the 80-20 rule is probably the best way to maintain afterwards, but also just swapping certain things out. So yeah, I'm still going to want Italian night, but I
Yeah.
can swap out the pasta. Or instead of having bread, I can have a starch, like a butternut squash or something like that. So there's ways to just stay, go back to your normal eating, the different styles of food that you like. But even just swapping one thing out is going to make a big difference.
100%. Okay, really quick as we wrap this up, what is your advice for someone that is about to start? So coming from you've done it a few times, whether it's about snacking, whether it's about, if they kind of veer off the path, what's your advice?
So the biggest tip is that you have to grocery shop ahead of time. I think my biggest mistake going into the first one was I was like, all right, it's Monday, I'm going to start. And I had nothing in the house that I could eat because I hadn't prepped and I was starving. And that kind of made me feel like have a sour taste in my mouth of like, I'm going to be hungry all 3 weeks, which it was not the case.
Right.
But I just had to grocery shop ahead of time. So make sure you have your grocery shopping done ahead of time for all the different scenarios, your snacks, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, so that instead of having to choose every time you open up the pantry, you get rid of all that stuff. Like even if you have to put it in a box and hide it for 3 weeks, don't give yourself the option that you have to make a choice. Like hide all the bad stuff, take the stuff out of the fridge. And then that way, anytime you go to open your pantry, it's all good choices. And you feel like you have a luxury there. You can choose anything in front of you and you don't have to feel guilty or, feel bad about yourself because you chose the wrong thing. It's just all good things. So grocery shopping's huge. And then prepping your meals. So knowing what am I going to eat and cook for the next couple nights. I'm a big meal prepper. So Sunday night we prep and we cook, tons of chicken and tons of veggies. And then I portion them all out for the week. And then I don't have to worry about it throughout the week. So for me, the pre-purchasing and then also the preparing of the cooking. So I'm not spending hours every day cooking.
I'm with you. Can you meal prep for me, please?
Well, you can ask my husband because he's the one that does it. Yes.
I will. Will you send it? One last question, actually, too. What about working out while you're on the challenge? What if you normally, you work out sporadically? What about that?
So the first time I did it, I actually worked out less than my normal workout routine. Because again, I didn't want to have like false results because I'm a trainer and I work out a ton. I really wanted to be like, what is the average person going to experience? So I worked out maybe, and again, for some people, this is going to still sound like a lot, but instead of 6 days a week or 7 days a week, I did 3 to 4 days a week. And then for the rest of the time that I was doing it, I went back to my normal workout routine, which is 5 to 7 days a week. And the biggest thing for me was just making sure that I was getting enough protein and getting enough of the good fuel for my body so that I wasn't feeling like really empty when I'm trying to work out and have energy. I think you need to work out in general. I think everybody needs to be active, even if it's 2 days a week, doing something to move their body. So if you're at a point where you're like, I don't work out at all, Caitlin, right? I think part of the Pure 21 challenge, part of your goal should be to implement some movement into your week. And even if it starts with 15 to 30 minutes a day, go for a walk. Because I think aside from the food, you've got to start those good habits of just movement. And so if you do those in combination with each other, then it will be easier when you come off of the 21 days because you'll have this good routine of movement.
If you had to sum up your results of the Pure 21 challenge and how you feel about it, what would you say to somebody about it?
So if I had to sum up my results, it would be that it was probably life-changing for me in the fact that I finally realized that I was bloated and I was inflamed and I had all these issues that I didn't know that I had. I wasn't sleeping very well. Now I can sleep 6 hours and I feel amazing the next morning, but it's because I know that the stuff that's in my body is really healthy. I lost 13 pounds and 26 inches. And for me, that's a lot of weight and that's a lot of inches. And it was around certain areas that just never budged. No matter what I did for exercise, no matter what I did for food, they just never moved. And so to feel better, to look better, to need a whole new wardrobe is always really fun. But to be able to still eat on a program and not be hungry and feel like you can still have really awesome foods was pretty amazing.
Awesome. Well, Caitlin, thank you so much. I appreciate your time and all of your good insight and advice. And are you planning to do it again soon?
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to be somebody that does it every quarter or every 4 months, just as a reset, because I think so often we fall back into the bad habits. And so for me, I love that it's like, okay, doing it
Yeah.
again, and I'm
Yeah.
going to reset, oh yeah, I don't need bread with every meal. Oh, I don't need pasta with every Italian night. So just kind of getting back into those habits when you feel like you've fallen off the bandwagon.
Love it. Okay, well, thank you so much. We appreciate it. And I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, have a good one.
Thanks.